Hola. Ooh. Can you see that? Get a little chilly here, Greta. You should come back. No, stay away. Stay away. I was promised by David Suzuki and Al Gore that I wouldn't have winter anymore. And what the hell? Now, if we didn't have winter, we wouldn't have to expel so much CO2 to keep warm. Look at Quebec. Before I get into this, where am I? Oh, doo-doo. Okay, before I get into this little spiel I got on the board, you know what we see, okay, what we hear from the Communist Broadcasting Corporation and what we see on the propaganda news stations owned and operated by the establishment, paid for by you and I, does it actually reflect, do these entities actually reflect, basically those of mankind within the jurisdiction of Quebec? Like, I realize that the folks, the Francos, and they have many immigrants. Like I have one buddy who's Greek, but he's Quebecois. He's Quebecois, man, and he speaks fluent French and better than he does English. So I get it that these folks would wish to keep their identity, their heritage, and their identity, and I don't see an issue with that. So do mom and pop Quebecers hate Westerners, hate mom and pop Albertans, or is this something that the establishment and the bought and paid for propaganda centers like Communist Broadcasting Corporation, or is this something they promote? Like, is this something they promote through political means and gains and stuff? Like, is there really that much hatred between your average man or woman within the jurisdiction of Quebec and within the jurisdiction of Alberta? Or was this designed and manipulated and operated from the establishment to keep a diverse or a divided country, and a divided nation, I should say? We don't, whatever. I get into that country stuff. Like, from the nation that I grew up within, if there was a shortage anywhere coast to coast, Canadians would band together and go help out our cousins. And but I believe that these folks, these traitors, these manipulators that hold these public offices, I believe that they're the ones who have put the wedge in. They're the ones who have caused the greed and the abrasiveness between the people of this land. And I don't see, like that guy there, the whatever president of Quebec. How come he didn't fly over to Alberta and Saskatchewan, say, and have some meetings? Unless he did, if I'm missing something. But why didn't he just fly over and have some meetings with Alberta and Saskatchewan and say, hey, look, we're in emergency, we're in dire straits. Can we get something going? Like, there's 100,000, people out of work just in Alberta alone. I know there's a lot of trucks and stuff not being used. Like, could we not do a convoy? Like a convoy, and you know, the people did a convoy to Ottawa to protest, which, they didn't give a shit because they don't care about you and I. Why couldn't, Quebecois, the public servants over there, just have a check ready for the convoy when they gets over to Quebec, so that so that our mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and sons and daughters and cousins don't die in the hospital, don't freeze, don't lose their crops. Like who caused this division? Okay, was it those of mankind on this land, those mom and pops? Or is it these traders that are sucking off our tit, off your hard labor, with their extreme expense accounts and their holier than now attitudes and their divisive fucking pseudo laws? Like, what the hell is going on? Anyways, I just don't get it, why there isn't like, you know what, I would fire that Quebec dude. Like, I would say, hey, fuck, you're out of here, man. You're not doing anything for the people here. You're so busy putting up walls between the people of this land that we're now we're now suffering. Well, suffering, that's another word. Be careful with that word. If anyone from the legal society ever asks you, did so and so make you suffer? That just means you agreed to it. You agreed to the cruel and unusual punishment you did receive. Yeah. You got to watch these characters. So, lots of trickery. Lots of trickery. And what they're counting on is, the communist, the crown corporate communist school system to keep you dumbed down, so that when those of this class, all right, those what do they call them? The white privileged? No, the class privileged. Okay, when one of them asks you a question, they'll use the word to the meaning, or they'll use a term, and you think they're speaking English, and you answer it with some kind of competency, and then you just fucked yourself. All right, and they do this every day, day in, day out. And what we do, we become plaintiffs. We become nagging and bitching old hags. Okay, we go around crying the blues and bitch, 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 bitch. But the fault is right here with each and every one of us. And the reason that we're working 24/7 just to survive is because we allowed our public servants to act like a whack of monarchies and kings and lords and dictators. We have allowed this to happen. Our nation is in such disarray because you and I allowed this to happen. And we need to put the brakes on. Now, these guys do all this stuff through pen, paper, and ink. This is how they're doing this. Okay, yeah, printers, but they're doing it through paper. Okay, there's two-dimensional documents with the magic symbols that create the magic spells that can cause folks. See, because as mankind, we are all believers. It's part of us. Like, you have to be very disabled, not to believe something, because every one of us believe. It's part of us. You take the belief away from mankind, you don't have a man or a woman there anymore. And so they know this. They know this. They know about mankind. They understand about mankind. Well, they don't understand about mankind, because if they did, They would be serving mankind instead of manipulating through trickery and causing harm, loss, and injury to a man through mankind's person. Right? So just it's something I wanted to get to. So whenever you're writing a document, there's a four-corner rule. I touched base on it, but there's a four-corner rule. Okay, if it's in a box, it only applies to whatever is in the box. So, say you have a law, a public law that was enacted and received royal assent from our public service. Okay, then that law applies within the mandate that the law was written. Okay, same with any kind of legislation, anything that's color of law, all of it, right? It only applies within the box that it was written. Anything outside the box is not part of that document. It's not part of the law. You see, and because we are living, say living man, or we are alive is a better term, and when we speak, okay, when we give, that's why Carl calls his site, the common law / lore, common lore. Okay, the lore, it's voice, it's three-dimensional, it's via voce, right? And only man can speak. Yes, there's a few birds that can copy words and stuff. I understand that, but we are the critters of this evolved planet that can reason and speak, and that's who we are. Like, everybody says, "Oh, man's a plight on the earth. Man's this, man's that." Yet they tell me, they go, "Oh, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God. Oh, it's radiation, Big Bang." Okay, well, sure, okay, but if you believe in evolution, then mankind is exactly where man should be right now on this earth. Exactly. The reason there's over 6 billion people on this earth is because we evolved, and there should be 6 billion people on this earth. Now, as the establishment manipulates those, they love the common law for themselves. They know how, say not all of them, all right, because there's a few in there that are tards, but for the most part, the establishment understands mankind, and they walk within the light of a man or a woman, and therefore, this is where this they use their privileged class of person on all the little people, because the average mom and pop doesn't understand where mankind stands on this land, on this common law, and on this common law land, and so what they do is they use their person, their class of person, to manipulate and control other classes of person. Now, a man is not a person, but a person is a man. I know it's fucked up, isn't it? You can't have a person without a man or a woman there. You can't be a husband, a father, a wife, a mother, unless there's a man or a woman there. It doesn't exist, right? So we give the person life, and because slavery is outlawed on all its forms on this land, and involuntary servitude is outlawed in all its forms. I'm going to get to that one in the covenant about the servitude. That's pretty funny, because they use the word shall, a future tense word, shall be prohibited in all its forms. So it's funnier than hell. But we all understand, we all know, and we do. I mean, well, maybe not all of us. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be here talking if we all understood that slavery is outlawed in all its forms on this land. So everything here within this common law nation is done by consent. Consent of the man or woman. The consent to act as the person. It's consent to maintain the position of a person under the authority of another man or woman with a higher class of person, with a title, who's entitled, whose person is entitled. And so the establishment does not wish for you and I. This is why people were burnt at the stake and died to get the written word of the books of the Bible into the common man's language. Because the establishment back then, and this is my belief, all right? But the establishment back then, they had control over the people. You had to go see a lawyer, a Pharisee, a Sadducee, you had to go see a priest that was qualified to interpret the word for you out of the Greek or the Latin to English. Right? So you had to take somebody's word for it. You know, this is what, like, my understanding, okay? Like, everybody throws the word Jew around. Jew. Now, my understanding, okay, is that Israel, right, is that of Adam. And that he was of the, he started the Hebrew nation. Right? And they're Hebrews. Okay, now as that nation grew and those clans grew, they started to build their temples and so on. And in the temple, you would have your banking system. You remember when Jesus went in there and and destroyed the place, yelling at them? You've made the house of God a den of thieves. You had your courts in there in that building, and you had your spiritual leadership in the same building. And so the separation from church and state was basically, okay, you've got your public service over here, you have your courts over here, and now you have your banks over here. And that's the only separation I saw. And so, like, the Jew originally, and this is another reason why I don't go to these crappy pseudo churches, these feel good places, because, well, I do once in a while with my buddy, but I've listened to them. The reason the Jews are getting attacked and that because and this same thing Hitler said. Well, they were the ones who killed Jesus, right? And that tribe of Judea is cursed. A Jew doesn't derive from the tribe of Judah. Okay, tribe of Judah. Sorry, not Judea. The tribe of Judah. A Jew doesn't derive from that. What a Jew was a Pharisee or a Sadducee. Now they became what they were of the Sanhedrin. They were the lawyers, the legal persons, and a lot of times they weren't natural Jews, or a natural of the tribe of Israel. You see, their custom is that the heritage of Israel, the heritage of the Hebrew nation, rides with the mother. And so a woman would be born, let's call it a Jewess, right? And so if a man married a Jewish woman, then he would take on her religion, not the other way around. Whereas us, me being basic Celtic background, it was taken on the mother would take on the religion of the father, and of course, that was just a customary thing. Nobody forced, if Granny was Catholic and Dad was a Protestant, or Grandpa was a Protestant, nobody forced anybody to switch over. Maybe back in the old days. So these were these Sadducees and Pharisees, these legal persons within the Hebrew nation were actually the Jews. And yes, they were the ones who killed Jesus, weren't they? So, like, we've really the waters are mudded, okay? They're mercury, like they're just all blended together, and so we say shit and don't even know what we're actually saying, right? So anyways, that's what I believe how it happened. That's what I believe to be true. But like, yeah, you know, like I heard this pastor one time, and it was my son-in-law's mother said that to me one time. And I was just like, hey man, like, don't you guys do basic history? You know, what do you do? Just read a line out of one of the books in the Bible and then just make up shit? Like, what the fuck? You know? Anyways, totally off my subject here, and this thing will shut off on me. All right, so I was talking about words that end in ed and words that end with ing. Okay, so future tense and past tense. So I try to keep whatever I do right in the present. And when I write something in the present, and because I wrote it by hand, it may be two-dimensional in itself on the paper, but it's a verifiable piece of paper. That means I will come to any court, you know, under oath or affirmation, and testify that all herein be true. Now, I can make it three-dimensional. Now, if you get a computer-generated thing, who is a man or woman that's going to come forth and swear that's true? Are they going to show up? Is somebody from Thomson Reuters, I think Reuters is the company that codifies the laws for Canada and England and the US, and whoever else, I'm not sure who else, but is there going to be a man or a woman come into this public forum at this public building and swear under oath or affirmation that the intent of the code, what that code means? Because I don't know what that code means. I have no clue. What I do know is it's derived from some law that was written and enacted and passed royal assent. Okay, that's fine. Now I do know the difference between right and wrong, which is the common lore. Okay, that's been handed down for millenniums, for eons. Since the beginning of mankind we have had this because it's in all of us. And yes, we know right from wrong even as a child, and we can choose to be the monster, or we can choose not to be the monster even though the monster is in us. Right? In every one of us. So it's like this guy had said one time. He said, you know, you're really. He was a soldier, and you know, it's like you're really brave. You know, and the guy says, you know, I'm not fucking brave. And he says, you know, what do you mean? He says, well, no, that's not how it went. It's basically the definition of bravery is the ability to get your mind, your will, and your emotions to coincide with your soul, spirit, and body to overcome fear. Okay, so that you are able to overcome the fear. It's not that the fear is not there. That's the definition. I believe the definition of bravery. And I got this from a vet years and years ago. So, oh yeah, and then there's this. I just want to add this. Now I'm guilty. You'll find it on my films using the word. I think, yeah, when I wrote up that notice there, I do not wish. I put, yeah, well, I should have worded it better, but I was pretty burnt out there. So I'm old and I work hard. No, not never. Now, Carl came on to me about that one time because I do my best to make sure I don't use no, not never in a document. I do my best to no, not never use those words. Right? I do my best to try and stay away from these words. Now, there's a few different ways you can say no, not never, and that's what Carl brought to my attention one time. It was about, like when I said to the magistrate, what did I say? I reserve the right not to be seen as a legal person. I think I just said I do not wish to be seen as a legal person. Right? And then, so it's another way of saying, you know, no, not never, or no, not. Anyways, and so it's how you put yourself forward, right? If you ever, fuck, I forget the name of it. I think it's like 4 in the morning here. But anyways, I'll just stick to this. Okay, so I tried, you know, to stay away from those 3 words in a document. All right. Being a pragmatist, I can't say, I'm unable to say never really, because, you know, I believe something today, but if I see the evidence, it may change my belief. Not that my original belief was wrong or not correct. It's just that maybe I didn't have enough information, and I only had part of the information, so I believed something to a point, and now I've seen now I got a more a visual of more of the whole picture, which changed my belief, right? Now, of course, I can hide my head in the sand and not hear, see, or believe anything but what I wish to believe. You know, kind of like these global warming communists that are trying to take over the free world. You ever ask yourself why these folks only are attacking the Western world and the free world with their global warming bullshit? Maybe somebody wants to get rid of us. Who's the big dictator that wishes to take over? Is it the man-child? Maybe he'd love to get rid of elections. Then he can just, you know, he can just be king forever. So okay, so past tense, future tense. I try to keep my document in the present, and I try not to make my document. I try to keep my document from being negative. All right. Now, the 4-corner rule. I like using brackets. People use parentheses. It's like, you know, Article 6.2 of this Constitution of Canada thing. So if you notice it, you know, the 2 is in parentheses, and but every citizen of Canada and every person. Okay, so every citizen of Canada and every person who has the status of a permanent resident. Now, resident's a cool word. If you look, and I've talked about this before in the war manual, the military war manual, you will find the definition. Look at the U.S. one; it's easier to find. But they all coincide. All the allies have basically the same principle in their war manuals. But resident, yeah, you'll find it as a place assigned to you by the status quo, by the establishment. Okay, so assigned to you. So, are you a resident of such and such? Well, I never heard of that before. Please define resident. Well, where do you live? Well, right here. You know, this is the house, the building that God gave me. You know, that the Big Bang gave me. You know, I live here. I've been living here all my life. I did that one time. It was one of these fish and feather guys. You know, they were checking for hunters, but I obviously wasn't hunting. I obviously had nothing in my truck. You could obviously see. You know, I was just going from point A to point B. And he says, "Where do you live?" And I go, "Well, here." Whoa, here? Yeah. So he says, "Let's see your driver's license." And I said, "Driver's license? I don't have a driver's license." "You don't have a driver's license?" "I do possess a government license. Is that what you wish to see, sir?" So I give it to him. And he said, "Oh, you're up there." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's," and you know, he was trying to make a big deal out of it. I think I was, what, you know, I don't know, 50 miles south of the, like, but our area is called the West Kootenays. You know, it's just the area, right? I don't know how they define it with their borders and regional districts and all their they're always moving fucking borders around here anyways, you know.